I want to know how Jassy added 25 new files to his business in the last 2 months and added over 100 mortgage renewals with just a couple minor tweaks. Then you're going to listen to this episode. Hey, I'm Scott Peckford. This is the I Love Mortgage Brokering podcast. And today on the show of Jassy Braich. Jassy is a 20-year mortgage banker who became a mortgage broker 2.5 years ago. And we have a fantastic conversation. Whenever I find somebody's doing something unique, I'm like, I got to get into the weeds here. And so I specifically break down his DM strategy. I ask him, okay, what did you say? What did they say? What did you do? And they did this. I think this is the one you're going to want to take notes for, get a notepad and write them down so that you absolutely use this. He shares how he asked for the maturity date, how he was able to get so many of those. And he also talks about this 4-quadrant planning strategy he uses to add value to his clients and generate referrals for himself as well as his referral partners. It's absolutely fantastic. You're going to love this conversation. Before we jump into that, I got to give a shout out to our sponsor, Finmo. Finmo is a Canadian mortgage application, document collection, and submission platform designed specifically for Canadian borrowers. It's very easy for borrowers to use. It's got some cool features like smart docs. It knows what docs your client needs based on how they fill out the app. It's got smart submission notes, pulls key data from that application, and it's connected to Lender Spotlight, which is the best tool for searching rates and guidelines. Check them on lendesk.com/Finmo and check out this conversation with Jassy. Hey, Jassy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks for having me.
So tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into the mortgage biz.
Well, I was in banking for over 20 years and I hit my 20-year mark and I was like, all right, it's either time for me to move on or I'm going to be sitting here for another 20 years in the corporate world. And one of the things that I had a lot of focus in banking was credit planning and mortgages, of course. And so it was time for me to move on after my 20 years there and dove right into mortgage brokering.
So when you were at the bank, though, did you did just mortgages or did you do a bunch of different things? Like, were you like more like a financial wealth advisor type of thing, or were you a mortgage specialist?
Well, there's a bunch of different roles. So the bank treated me really well. I was in sales and service, like as a senior consultant for all of British Columbia, branch management roles, sales roles. So I have expertise in a lot of different areas. And so that's what I really wanted to bring it all together and into the broker world of not just, doing a quick transaction, moving on to the next client. My business is really focused on the overall growth and building my client's net worth.
Right. Okay. So what was your biggest fear going from banking to brokering? Like, it must have been because my experience has been when I talk to people that have been banking for a long time, there's some misinformation when it comes to being a mortgage broker.
Yeah, it took me a long time to take off my banking hat because everything was always like, well, we don't do it like this at the bank. We didn't do it like this at the bank. And so my fear really, as I kind of left, was, oh, shoot, like this is really different than what we did at the bank. So it became a learning curve for me. So initially I thought, I would just slide right in and have some more lenders that I'd be able to send my clients to. But in fact, policies, procedures, it was all quite different.
Right. Okay. What was the biggest thing that you noticed as a difference?
The biggest thing I would say is just the way that we submit deals, the way we find lenders. It's, you're basically in it with just yourself for the most part. In the bank, you've got all these different departments and you kind of fire people off into certain directions. But over here, it's all like just myself as a broker.
Yeah, and you have to build, we're going to talk about this, but you have to build those relationships yourself.
Yeah.
It's not like they come out of the box. Here's your people to refer to. Whereas at the branch you did, now it's like, but that creates some new opportunities, as you probably are discovering. It's like, oh, wow, actually, this can be, it's not like it's going to another internal bank person. It's going to someone else that can become a referral partner for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like you have in the banking world, there's a lot of structure. Everything's kind of like built for you and you just got to kind of follow it. When you leave and become, your own, you have your own business or entrepreneur, you have to really set up that structure. And so, that was something that was like, oh, okay, I've got to kind of piece all this together properly.
Right. Okay. So one of the things I always love to ask people is what, if you could define, or somebody that knows you well, what they define as your superpower. So what would people say about you?
Most would say I have the ability to really build a genuine connection with my clients, and doing that early on, they start to trust me. We have great conversations, and I'm able to really build a long-term relationship with them. I think that when you're in it for the long haul, and my goal, as I mentioned for my clients, is to help them build their net worth. It's not a transaction for me. It's a long journey where I want to see them grow. I want to see their families grow and their financial situation, significantly improve over time. So I would say a lot of them will say that's my superpower, is building that genuine connection.
So I think it comes down to, one of my coaches used to tell me, what's your intention? So you set your intention before a call, before a discovery call, before whatever. And if your intention going in is correct, which is yours is all about helping my clients build their net worth, I care about these people, it's a long-term relationship, you make different choices. You have different, like, it will actually flavor everything. All the language, the body language, these non-verbal cues and stuff are all going to move towards that, versus somebody who's just thinking about, I got to make a buck today. I got to, can I close this person? Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. Okay. So walk me through, we were talking about something that one of the things I thought was unique you did was this 4-quadrant philosophy that you you're not just saying, hey, what do you need for a mortgage? You're not like a McDonald's saying, you want fries with that? You're like, no, I actually got to step back and do a wider scope. Walk me through that. And I think this obviously comes from your banking background, but I think a lot of mortgage brokers would do well to have some kind of similar discussion. We'll talk about why after, but walk me through that part first.
Yeah. So, I do feel it comes from the banking background. I can't just look at my client scenario and just have it as a transaction. Hey, they're buying this house, or I'm helping them out with a pre-sale that we're closing. In my mind, I start thinking about, okay, where can this client build upon in their overall financial plan? So as I go through my journey with them, I at the very onset, when I have my discovery meeting with them, I tell them, my goal for you is to help build your net worth, and I do that through a client-centric model. And what my model looks like is we discuss 4-quadrant planning. So the first quadrant is around cash management, their cash flow, even things like their banking products and their basic needs. That's our first quadrant. The second quadrant that we discuss throughout the journey is the investment side. So, do they have kids? Do they have RESP set up? Do they know they can get grants from the government? That's my second bucket. The third quadrant is, evident. It's the credit and the lending side. So usually this is the meat and potatoes. It's, the immediate focus of the model. And the fourth and last quadrant is around protection. So, insurance planning protection. Do they have the right accountant, or is it just a tax filer? Wills and estate planning. These are all components throughout their journey that I discuss. And so while, I'm not licensed in the investment side, but what I do is I bring in the right partners at the right time, so that, right. For example, I've got a client right now. They've got a bunch of different bank accounts. They all have a good chunk of money in them. Stuff just kind of scattered. So immediately throughout my discovery, when I identify this, I say to my clients, are you okay if I, later on in the process that I introduce you to one of my financial planners that I think you'll jive with? And 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, yeah, for sure, I'd love to. So it's the ability to really identify those opportunities.
Right. So that's not even in the mortgage side, but it's giving you an opportunity to refer somebody that then can refer back to you, correct?
Yeah, that's right. And a lot, like
it's also best for you're taking care of the client ultimately, but then you're actually helping yourself too at the same time.
Yeah. And that's, one of the things I learned at Bricks was, building those relationships, not only long-term with the client, but these partners. So I'm like feeding them like, hey, I've got an opportunity here. And I also, Scott, I'll try to get a few extra statements from clients, even though I might not need them. I'll collect them up front. I'll set the expectation with the client as well, is that this will help me when I'm introducing you to a financial planner, just so that we can fully see your overall picture.
Right. Okay. So basically, and is that done in the discovery call? So like that's essentially in the first call, hey, this is my it's like you're sharing your value proposition, which is I want to help my clients build net worth. We do that through this planning process that has these 4 quadrants. So you're setting a frame for all the questions that are coming so that they don't feel like, why are you asking me this? You just told me why. And so now I suspect most people just follow along because they're like, oh, you got a plan. I don't need a plan. Just tell me what, and again, you're a likable guy. So then they're like, sure, I'll tell you this stuff because you're going to help me. Right.
Yeah, exactly. At the beginning in the discovery meeting, it's just about planting the seed, letting them know.
So you don't do it then. When would you introduce some of these other partners?
So the partners are usually brought in towards the tail end.
Right.
Or when a mortgage is approved and the funding's in about a month or so, I'll start putting dribs and drabs in. So I'll bring like an insurance agent if need be, 30 days before closing or 60 days before closing. I don't really get the planners involved until after the mortgage is funded or so forth, just so, we let things cool. And now it's like, all right, we've got things settled in. So it really depends on the client. And that kind of comes down to, again, me assessing the situation and the client's personality and how comfortable they are with things. So, I kind of got to be flexible with it, to be honest.
Right. So like the cash flow management piece you talked about, is that something that you refer on the front end, or is that something, or it depends on the client?
So I use the cash flow side to really evaluate how I'll support them on the mortgage side. So if I'm seeing, hey, you're spending a bit too much or your credit cards are a bit high, let's fix that with our mortgage journey. I'll try to tackle that myself. And then once we've kind of come up with a bit of a solution, depending on, again, who the lender is, if it's, another A lender or a bank, I'll say, all right, well, we've got a bit of a package deal, a bundled pricing where you'll get a bit of a better mortgage rate by opening up an extra bank account or two with these guys. Plus, then everything's kind of consolidated with one lender a little. So it kind of just depends, on their journey.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. So you go through this planning process. How long is your discovery call?
Usually only about 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Right. Okay. And then, that's fantastic. Okay. So, and then the purpose of this is primarily the first goal is help my clients build net worth, because the mortgage is just one part of that whole thing.
Yeah.
And then the secondary benefit of this is generating outbound referrals.
Yeah.
Right. That can feed your partner's business, and then your partners can feed your business.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
And I track it all. Like I've got a broker CRM system. Everything gets loaded in there.
Oh, yeah. What are you using for that?
I use Broker Edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how have you found that?
It's fantastic. Like it's just enough that it's not overcomplicating things. It's simple enough to use. Again, it's one of those tools where it's only as good as you use it. So you got to use it consistently. But I track everything in there. And that's, when I do my realtor meetings, that's one of the key things that I go through is, hey, I've got a pretty solid CRM system. It helps me grow my business, but I'm also going to help you grow your business, by, putting everything in there and expanding the relationships with my clients.
Right. Yeah. And so what's something that you track in there that most people would not think to track, or because I find a lot of mortgage brokers are not great at keeping data. It's sort of their salespeople. Even though they like numbers and it's money, but they still don't. Well, what's something that you track in there that you think more mortgage brokers should track?
So I would definitely say the relationship piece with the referring party is so important. So
is this inbound or outbound or both?
Both.
Yeah,
both, especially on the inbound side too. If somebody refers, I link them immediately to a connection. And then I take some, fairly decent notes in there as well. Again, you could use it however you want, but, I put all my outbound referrals in my notes to say refer to Sally, financial planner, and so forth.
Right. Okay. What's been the most helpful for your business most change that you've made recently?
I would say just the ability to use all the tools as much as you can to the best of your ability. So, use social media however you're most comfortable with. So, I reached out to my entire Facebook network one by one, just saying reaching out, hey, it's been a long time since we connected. building a bit of rapport. My style wasn't like, hey, I'm a mortgage broker. I'd love for you to send me your business. That's not my style. It was really just genuinely connecting with them first and seeing what they do, and then letting them know that I'm here for you. If you need any support on the mortgage side, let me know. And you'd be surprised how many people would open up and say, oh, actually, yeah, my mortgage isn't coming due till 2026, but I'm struggling with this or that. Immediately, what do? I go into my tool, my broker edge. I start putting in the notes. I put in their maturity dates, and immediately I've got details in there. And most people are open to it. So,
right.
One of the key things too that is we can't assume as a broker that people have financial planners in place, or they're perfectly fine with their accounting. We can't assume those things, and it's only through like having a genuine conversation in these discovery meetings that you find that out.
Right. Okay. So you found reaching out, because you had said to me before we turned on the recorder that you generated 25 files in the last 2 months, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And so what is the activity that you think helped you collect most of those files? Is it this one-to-one reach outs to people that you've been doing?
Yeah, so I have to break that down in 50-50. I'd say 50% of it was a reach out to clients via Facebook and just, old clients, old friends, family, and so forth. And the other 50% is just meeting with realtors, letting them know what I do differently, why I stand out as a mortgage broker. It took a bit of time for things to kind of get going, but now it's starting to come through. And so that unique approach that I have is really, it's about 50-50 at this point.
Okay. So I want to ask you more about the reach outs. So how big was your like social? We're talking on Facebook, or where was this?
Yeah, all Facebook. I don't really have much on Instagram. Like, again, you gotta find what works for you.
And it doesn't matter. Just pick it. I feel like the social media platforms are kind of like the new town halls or the town squares, where you basically, if I could, I would just I wouldn't be on there at all, but that's where everybody is. It's like, I don't want to go to the town square. Well, everybody hangs out there. Okay. I kind of have to go to the town square. So that's how I feel about it. So on Facebook, how did you, what was the messaging? So if I was one of your friends and I knew, let's say I knew you're a banker for 20 years, but I may not know that you're a mortgage broker, even though you posted it, they don't see it. So what would that conversation look like? Or how do you go from, how do you message them so that they, you engage?
So usually I'd just start, like I said, asking about the family and, what they're doing for work now and how things are going. And then just say, depending on how the conversation is, I'll just drop it in there saying, hey, not sure if you're aware, but I'm a mortgage broker. I help a lot of my clients with their financial planning and would love to help you out. And then kind of just wait and see what they say. And a lot of times they'll just open up. Many times they'll just say, oh, I'm fine right now. And then I'll say, that's great. I build a mortgage maturity list. So I'd love to get you on that list. And so what I do.
So how many people did you get on your list by doing that?
Oh, I think I've got probably 100.
Really?
Yeah.
And so how many, okay, so I always love data, because it's so you basically reached out to everybody that was on your Facebook. How big is your Facebook connection? How many people you're connected with?
About 1,100 people or so.
And then you reached out to most of them?
Almost. So everyone except mortgage brokers.
Right. Well, fair enough.
Yeah. Even the realtors that I had in there, and I've got quite a few over the years, I reached out to all of them.
Okay, and so was this a video? Was it a text? How did you get the conversation going?
Yeah, one-on-one messaging, just going into Messenger and just shooting them a message. A lot of them didn't reply, and they come back later saying, "Hey, I don't check this very often." Usually, after a couple of weeks, I'll go back in there. I'll send a second message and give it a second shot, and then I'll get a bit more responses then as well.
Yeah, because you know what, and the thing is, anybody listening to this, if you send a message like that, whether it's a message or a video, assume the other person, they could be out picking their kid up from school, well, not school right now, but whatever's going on, and they'd be like, oh yeah, I want to reply to Jassy, and I put down my phone, I forget. So it is, if you, again, it goes back to your intention. If your intention is you just want to help people, then you're gonna reach out and then start a conversation if you can. So then from there, those will turn into conversations. And so you've got about 100 anniversary dates.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of files from that. Yeah. And so it was just all text. And did you schedule a time to do it every day, or how did you fit it in? Because I know people listening going, wow, when would I fit that in? How'd you do that?
Yeah, at the very start when I just went kind of crazy on like reaching out, I was doing it in the evenings. I was kind of just doing it at like 7, 8 o'clock, like during wind down time. And, I thought a lot of people are kind of just, that's the time they might be home from work. Maybe the kids are.
They're on their phones anyway. Yeah, exactly. Right? You know this.
I know. Yeah. So I thought, I'll probably get a little more immediate responses there. And, you'd be surprised I had a lot of good success so far with just people I went to high school with, and that was a long time ago. And and like most of those folks, they're homeowners and hardworking kind of guys and girls, and a lot of them were very responsive.
Right. So the 7 to 8 p.m. That's interesting. And did you use video or voice or just all text?
All text. Yeah, all text. The other like very important piece that, if someone were to do this, you gotta get their email and their phone number. And then that immediately again gets loaded into the CRM system. And they also become part of my VIP email list where they get emails from me. Every month they get draws.
You win contests and everything. So, okay. So let's pretend to make this super, I always love to get, thank you for being so open and sharing what you're doing and tactical. So I'm a friend of yours. I went to high school and you know me. Let's say I'm a plumber. What would your first message be to me to get me to start talking with you?
Oh, usually I'll say, oh, hey, Scott, been a long time. How are things? Are you still in New West?
Right.
That's where I'm from. I'm from New West. So I'll just say,
right. So it's literally just like, it'd be no different than if you bumped into them in the town square. It's like, hey, what are you up to? And so that's where the conversation starts. It doesn't start with, hey, I'm a mortgage broker. Like never.
Not
right?
for me. That doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I know. But I actually think probably most people would be better served it's a bit more patient. It's like than trying to play you're trying to start the connection. Like, you'd said one of your superpowers was building connections. Well, you were building genuine connections by approaching from this versus from what can I get from this discussion?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So then we go back and forth and then so how does it go from that into the next part, which would be you talking to me about like asking me about my mortgage, or what would you say there?
Yeah, so usually just after I kind of conversate about what they're doing for work, I would say, well, I'm a mortgage broker. So if you need any support on your finances, I'm here to help. And kind of just leave it open-ended, pretty brief, like not, getting into some craziness there of over information, just, letting them know that I'm here for them.
And then, so what kind of responses would you get from that? If I sent you that, so we talk back and forth, no, I'm not in New West, work's going good. And then you tell me what you're doing. So then what kind of paths did you see from there?
Yeah. So a typical response would kind of be like, hey, I just locked in for 4 years or whatever. And I would say, oh, that's great. I'm glad you've got your mortgage stuff taken care of. I'd love to add you to my mortgage maturity list. So that I'll keep in touch with you along the way. How are your finances overall? Are you finding that you're saving some money month to month, or is it a little tough for you? And again, just leaving it kind of open-ended and letting them run with it.
Right. And then so the mortgage maturity list is these people that you put all into your CRM back to the broker edge, and then now you can market to them and get their email, phone number and stuff.
Yeah, and I keep the conversation going. So I'll say, oh, do you know, like, what's your approximate rate and your mortgage balance? And again, as they're telling me, I'm plugging it all in. And so I'll on the side of my, on one side of my brain, I'm thinking, okay, is there an opportunity here to help them with a refinance, lowering their interest rate, and that sort of thing? And actually, I've had 3 clients in the last month where they got a deal done last year. Rates were at their highest in 2023. I've been able to save 3 of my clients money by doing a refinance or renegotiation on their rate. And, because the rate was 5.8 or higher. So I've been posting some stuff about that where I'm like, wow, I've been saving people so much money.
Right.
So I'm always trying to find, okay, is there an opportunity again to help a client out right now, or maybe it's later?
Right. Okay. So then you said half that other business, the files you have are coming from realtors. So what are you doing different with realtors that you weren't doing before?
It's really just getting out there. And, one of the first things when I met with a couple of realtors, the one guy said, oh, I say to them, oh, have you met with other brokers or other like bank specialists? And they'll say, oh yeah, they usually like I'll have a coffee and I'll never hear from them again. And so, and I said, well,
if you're listening to this, mortgage brokers, just hear what he just said. I never hear from them again.
Yeah.
We think it's a one and done. It's not. That's not. Just the starting line.
Yeah. So that was a big piece that I changed. It was like, I reach out, I set up a time. I go through my, my unique approach with them. I follow up, a couple of days later. I follow up again a week later, and I'm constantly just kind of pinging them and seeing how things are going. And I try different methods with them. And, sometimes it works with some, and with others it doesn't.
Right. That's bloody brilliant. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a couple more questions that are sort of kind of land the plane on this. So if you were starting over today, making the transition from being in the bank to being a mortgage broker, what advice would you give yourself?
So don't sit back and wait. The phone is not going to ring on your behalf. It's not, when we think, okay, all these referrals and all these things I've done all these years, now people are going to come to me. They're going to come to me. No, it doesn't happen. You got to take the bull by the horn. You got to get out there. You got to let people know what you do, why you're so great. And use the tools that are available. Like, don't be afraid to use the tools that are out there, and collaborate with people. I think at Bricks, we do that so well. Everybody's here to help each other. And if you surround yourself with people like that, you'll grow and you'll help others. And that's kind of the name of the game.
Yeah, that's so good. So I got another question to you about this for anybody that's a bank specialist. So did any of your people that knew you as a banker, did they say, why did you become, did anybody ask about that? Why did you become a mortgage broker? What's your answer to that? Or did they not care?
A lot of people say, oh, this guy's posting a lot now, or like, oh, what's going on? Oh, he's reaching out to like this person and that person. So there's a lot of like things like that can get to you. But, nobody's really asked me that, like, why?
Okay. Okay. Actually, you give me another question I want to ask. So that kind of negative sentiment, what's kind of the most that you can think of, like a negative kind of feedback that you got that you just chose not to let that bother you and push through? So what would be something that you were like, some people, because they obviously don't understand that your intention is to serve and to help people, but what's something that you've seen that you're like, they didn't understand it and they maybe you've been negative about it?
Yeah. It happens often too, still, with people just thinking that, hey, he's just trying to make a quick buck out of it. And, they say, well, you're a mortgage broker. Oh, you guys make a lot of money. And so I'm fine. I deal with the bank. It's things like that. I've had a few different things that have come up similar to that approach, or like, oh, I've had people say, oh, you're messaging me after all these years. Is it just to now get my mortgage? So
what do you say when they say that to you?
I'll just, usually what I say to them, it's been a long time. And, the most important thing is, I want to see how you're doing. It's been a long time and I'm here to help you with your finances. So, and most of the time they'll reply saying, oh, that's great. But it does sometimes bother me a little bit because I'm not that upfront. I'm trying to actually build that connection with them.
Right. So again, it comes back to the story in your head. And if sometimes the story in your head can actually stop you from doing the thing you need to do, which is, and I'm sure you can think of these 3 people that you helped. You said you saved them thousands of dollars. Well, if you didn't do the reaching out, those people that wouldn't have happened. So I think that if you believe in what you're doing, you have a moral obligation to be talking to people, and not just so that if they need your help, you're going to be able to help them out. I guess that's,
like building that connection with them, even if it's something that you can't even help out. Maybe they're not a property owner. Maybe they have no vision of, becoming a property owner. I let them know, hey, I'm here for you. If you need any help with your financial situation, or you need a certain partner, like, hey, let me know. I'm here.
That's amazing. Okay. So is there anything that I didn't ask you that you think I should have?
I think you covered off a lot of it. Like I mentioned, it's just about getting out there and stepping out of your comfort zone And
you seem so relaxed, dude. Like your whole vibe is so relaxed. I don't know if you just had like, I'm gonna say a joke that's probably not like weed gummies or something. I'm joking, but you're so relaxed. You're like, yeah, and I'm like, so that's a good. It's gonna make the other person relax. If you are tense and anxious, the other person's gonna have a hard time relaxing. So.
I mean, the funny thing is I'm a very tense and uptight person, but I'm glad that you're
not today, man. I don't know. Like, I'm just like, I can't tell if you're tense or I can't tell. Like, yeah. So kudos to you.
Yeah. I mean, and also being confident is important. Like, I use my strengths, very wisely. I let clients know, hey, I've been doing this for like 24 years. I've got an MBA. I'm about full growth and saving you money. And that's what I'm here for. And so, I think just having that confidence and being comfortable with clients, taking good notes, using the right tools, it's just an overall package that, helps.
And yeah, and you win more and help, and so do your clients. So where do people find you online if they're looking for you?
Yeah, so they can send me a message via email at jb@jbmortgage.ca or www.jbmortgage.ca. Find me on Facebook. I'm there. So
that's awesome, Jassy. This has been a fantastic conversation. Thanks for coming to chat with me.
No problem. Thanks, Scott. Talk to you later.
Hey, thanks again for listening. And hopefully you got some notes from this. Go back, listen to it again, write down some of those scripts, use them, apply them. I love that Jassy actually does the thing. So many people I talk to, they get these great ideas and they don't execute on them. The other thing that he had touched on was the importance of collaboration. One of the things, like, I'm going to give a little shout out to our brokerage, Bricks, is one of our core values is collaboration over competition. And Jassy was telling me after we turned off the recorder, he's like, you know what? One of the things at my previous place, we never shared anything. We didn't collaborate. And he has found that being in whatever that environment is, if you're at a collaborative mortgage company now, awesome. But I believe with collaboration, it's like 1 + 1 is 3. If you have a good idea and I have a good idea, we put them together. It might be 5 new ideas that come. Like, they have like idea babies. And so I'm really big on sharing ideas, sharing specific tactics, because I think that we can both grow, you can grow your business that way. And, one of the things that I have discovered after running a coaching business for 6 years and now brokerage for 3 years is that when I give my best ideas to smart people, they'll go out and they will tweak them and come up with new ideas I didn't have. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is an improvement. And then the ideas get better faster. Absolutely love that. So if you're interested to find out more about what we're doing at Bricks, you can go to whybricks.com. swhybricks.com. But either way, thanks for listening to this episode. Hopefully you got some ideas from my conversation with Jassy. Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Scott Beckford, and I will see you on the next episode.